There are concepts that are very simple and easy to understand that enable you to take a very simple pattern and make real music out of it. And I'm going to give you a very abbreviated version of the very first lesson in this series. It's based on the minor pentatonic scale, which is something that you can find everywhere. Just do a search for minor pentatonic and you'll see this all over the place. This is what we're going to base this first lesson on, is a minor pentatonic scale in the key of A. Looks like this. So the fingering is 1-4, 1-3, 1-3, 1-3, 1-4, 1-4. And descending, we're not even going to use that whole scale. We're just going to use 4 notes out of that scale. Those 4 notes are on the 4th string and the 3rd string. Okay? Those 4 notes is what we're going to be dealing with. Now, the lesson series is called Concepts for Basic Improvising. The main concept from which all the other concepts are derived is that music is a language. And like spoken language, the principles of spoken language can be applied to music to very good effect. And to demonstrate that, we're going to take these 4 notes and we're going to think about them in a linguistic kind of way. So when you speak in English, you speak in phrases. How do you know when a phrase ends? There's silence. So the first concept is a sense of phrasing. And it's the silence between the phrases that define the phrases. If you don't have the silence between phrases, you don't have phrases. So you have a series of notes, and then you have a pause and another series of notes. So there was 2 phrases, and those were defined by the silence that was between them. You can have a long phrase, you could have a short phrase, but you still have to have silence at the end to define the phrase. So that's the first concept, is a sense of phrasing. Second concept, when you engage in spoken language, you use lots of inflection. Inflection in spoken language is things like stressing syllables. You don't put the emphasis on the wrong syllable, right? So now we have certain syllables are louder than other syllables. The technical term for that is dynamics. Anything I can do to get one note to sound different from another would be called an inflective device or an inflective technique. They include things like hammer-ons, pull-offs, slurs, vibratos, bends. These are all inflective devices. Now, when speaking about inflection in spoken language, the meaning of spoken language is not determined by vocabulary, it's determined by inflection. And that can be demonstrated by the fact that I can make the same word mean 2 different things, right? Right. Same word, different meanings. The meaning is determined by the inflection. In musical language, the meaning of musical language is feeling. So in the same way that meaning is determined by inflection in spoken language, feeling is determined by inflection in musical language. So when we put all these inflective devices together and mix them up, and we combine that with a sense of phrasing, you have a language. So you might have a conversational quality going on where you have one guy that says, second guy says, first guy asks a question, second guy gives him the answer. First guy doesn't like the answer, it makes him mad. You see? Because when people are angry, they talk very staccato. They cut their words off at the end to communicate the anger. So you can't play with too much inflection. The more you wiggle around, the better it sounds. So you have things that sound like, that was a phrase, that was a phrase. I'm not leaving these 4 notes. I'm staying in this basic 4-note area, and I play with phrasing and inflection. If you do that, it'll be musical, it'll be good, and you'll get the girls. So that, in a nutshell, is the very first lesson in this series of 22 lessons that I call Concepts for Basic Improvising. And it shows you that even though there's a vast quantity of material, I mean 160 fretboard diagrams, you don't have to have a lot of chops, you don't have to have a lot of knowledge, you just have to have a very simple pattern and use the concepts of phrasing and inflection to create music, to create a language.